Hey there, Mr. Redder here. Welcome back to another episode of Reddit Podcast Stories, where today, am I the jerk for not telling my former fiance I bought her dream house? 10 years ago, my fiance left me, 38 male, a few weeks before our wedding. We grew up in a small town. We were friendly, went to the same school, but we never were in the same clique. She was one of the popular kids and I wasn't. A few years after college, I moved back home when my dad got sick. I found a job in my field about 45 minutes away from home. I would help take my dad to his chemo appointments. It was during one of those appointments I ran into X. She was now a worker at the hospital. One day while waiting, I asked her out. It turned out we shared a lot of the same interests. It seemed like our relationship was going great. About a year or so into dating, X and I moved into a rented house together. The following year, I proposed. We began looking for a house. X always wanted to live in her grandparents' house on the lake near our town. Her family was forced to sell the house when her grandparents passed because of an inheritance dispute. 6 months before our wedding, a chance event happened. The couple who bought her grandparents' lake house had grown tired of our snowy winters. It took some work and nearly all of my savings, but I was able to buy her dream house. It was going to be my surprise wedding present, so I didn't dare tell her or anyone in her family my plans. A month before our wedding, X and her friends went to Miami for her bachelorette party. I'm not sure of what all happened down there. Part of me doesn't really want to know, but I do know her high school boyfriend was there. When she got back from the trip, she broke down and confessed she was afraid to get married and wanted to call it off. It was a mess. She later moved to Florida and eventually married her high school boyfriend. I ended up moving back to the city for an amazing job. In the meantime, I still had the lake house. With the help of my mom and dad, we started to fix up the lake house. It took a few years. My mom and dad would look after the contractors while I was in the city. Having the house was perfect when everything was locked down. I was able to escape the city and work remotely from the lake house. I now live here full-time and I work remotely. This summer, we had 4th of July at the lake house. My sister-in-law used photos from the lake this summer in her Christmas card. One of those cards made it to X's cousin. The cousin recognized the house. The Saturday before New Year's, X's mother and sister were at my front door. After pleasantries and answering their initial questions, they made an offer to buy it. I refused. They weren't happy. A few days later, I got a long text from my ex. This was the first time in about 9 years she's talked to me. She called me a jerk for keeping this from her. Her family is blaming her for losing the house again. She then asked me to sell. I still have no intention to sell. Now her and her family are complaining on social media that this is some sort of revenge. Am I the jerk? Not the jerk. Your intention was to surprise your ex with the house at the wedding. If you had called off the wedding, I'd reconsider my judgment, but she is the reason why she doesn't have access to that house. On top of that, you've made the house your own. Enjoy it. I would be petty and post on social media the date on the contract when you purchased the house and explain that if it wasn't for X cheating on you and leaving you for her now husband, this would have been her house as a wedding gift. But instead of having it be a painful memory of the hurt she caused you, with the help of your family, you are able to bond with your family even more by working on the house together, and that this house will now always stay in your family for generations to come. The audacity of your ex and her family is crazy. Now after you and your family spent a decade fixing it up, they're trying to lowball you out of the house. And when that didn't work, they took it to social media to complain. Not the jerk. I would post the entire story on social media and then block everyone in that family. Would I be the jerk if I skipped my sister's wedding? I, 23 male, am one of 7 kids. There's Lydia, who's 31, Josh, who's 28, Leo, who's 25, me, then Aaron, who's 21, and Nadia, who's 18, and the surprise baby, Lexi, who's 4. With that many siblings, it's easy to get lost in the crowd. Some of us have our positions, so to speak. Lydia is the oldest, Lexi's the baby. I have a kid. Yes, that's my description. OP gave us a grandchild. Erin is the golden child. She was the last planned kid, the one supposed to tie up our family. She was born premature, so I understand that my parents coddled her to an extent, but it's more than that now. Erin's getting married and recently told us that she's brought the date forward due to a cancellation. No big deal, it just means they're getting married sooner. But the new date lands on the date of Nadia's high school graduation. Erin was sympathetic, but said she's already committed to the date. They printed the invitations. My parents normally go overboard on our high school graduations, but they said that they'd just have to miss Nadia's. We were all sympathetic, but it wasn't intentional. Or so I thought. But Nadia later told me and Leo that she was there when Aaron got the call about the cancellation and told Aaron that she was graduating that day, but Aaron just laughed and accepted the date anyway. This, as much as I hate to admit it, sounds like a very Aaron thing to do. She booked her engagement part for the night of Nadia's 18th birthday. Luckily, she wasn't celebrating until the weekend. She announced her engagement at my oldest sister's wedding anniversary. Everything is about her. I confronted Aaron about this, and she said that Nadia's high school graduation didn't matter. She wanted to get married to the love of her life sooner, and our family had been to plenty of high school graduations at this point. She said something like, "We still have Lexi." But here's what gets me the most. Nadia's been looking forward to this for so long. She's watched all of us graduate and have these huge celebrations thrown by our parents. I asked Nadia what she wanted, and she said she wanted to have her day. So I told my family that me and Nadia won't be attending the wedding. Leo has also dropped out. Everyone's angry, Aaron is furious, and I didn't make it better by telling her that I could watch our other siblings get married, since it's all the same in her eyes. Mom's trying to convince me to come to the wedding because graduation isn't as important. But I feel like if I don't do this, then it sets a precedent in Nadia's life, and she's always going to mean less than Aaron. I've had messages calling me a jerk, an idiot, etc. They're telling me to step up and be a good brother, but that's what I'm doing. My son is supposed to be ring bearer, but with how my family's reacting, I'm considering pulling him out of the wedding too. My dad's told Nadia he'll take her to dinner after the wedding. Nadia is currently staying with me because mom won't stop cornering her. Am I the jerk? Update. It's 2 days after D-Day, and I finally come bearing an update. Last Friday, Leo and I went to speak to our parents and Aaron. I wanted to tell them that I'd be pulling my son from the wedding. Our older siblings ended up turning up as well, so it was 4 of us standing up for Nadia. Leo had spoken to them the night before and helped them see things more clearly from Nadia's eyes. Apparently, it didn't sink in with them that Aaron chose the date intentionally. There was a lot of yelling. Aaron accused me of trying to sabotage her wedding. Our parents tried to convince me to let them take my son to the wedding, but I stood my ground. I felt a lot stronger with my older siblings behind me. There's only 2 years between me and Aaron after all. I'm not much of an older brother. Luckily, Lydia was there. Her words carry more weight as the eldest, and she didn't give Aaron or my parents room to argue, as she told them that Aaron chose the date intentionally, admitted as much in front of me and Leo, and that this was normal behavior for her. Lydia told them that if they continued to favor Aaron so blatantly, the rest of us would go no contact and Lexi would likely follow in the future. Our dad started yelling, not at us, but at Aaron, surprisingly. I've never seen him so angry before, and to see it directed at Aaron was shocking. Our mom asked us to leave. We didn't hear from anyone on that side until Monday, when Aaron's fiance George asked to meet us at our parents'. He apologized to Nadia. He didn't know that the wedding and graduation overlapped, nor did he know that it was something Aaron did on purpose. Our dad was the one to tell him. What followed was a long talk between us, during which we all aired our grievances. I told our parents that we all felt that they valued Aaron more, that none of us mattered to them compared to her. Her artwork always went up on the fridge, ours always went in the drawer. I told them that, as a parent, I could never imagine treating my kid like that. Aaron tried to argue. She tried to tell us that we were trying to turn her into a bad guy, trying to turn our parents against her, trying to sabotage her wedding. Our mom told her to be quiet, that it was our time to talk. George stepped in to tell us he didn't expect us to attend the wedding, but we were welcome to attend the reception. He went so far as to say that he wished he could have canceled the wedding altogether, but it would only cost him more money than he had spent by bringing it forward. Mom's willingness to hear us out lasted less than 24 hours. By Tuesday, she was begging us to reconsider. Apparently, our feelings meant nothing in the face of Aaron's dire stress and the fact that people would be questioning our absence on the big day. I haven't spoken to my mom since, but I did ask my dad to bring me some of Nadia's things because she's going to be staying with me full time. We have officially gone no contact with our mother. Dad took Nadia out for an early graduation celebration on Wednesday. They spent some time together that I think she really needed. He apologized for a lot of things and told her he wanted to do the same with the rest of us. But Wednesday was about her. I'm happy she got that one-on-one time with him. She was happy coming home to me. In our sibling group chat, she said that she really thinks Dad is going to try and mend bridges with us, even if Mom won't. Dad also turned up early yesterday morning, like 6:30 a.m., to give Nadia flowers. He told her that he was proud of her. George even called while he was getting ready for his big day to congratulate Nadia, which I really appreciated. We didn't hear from Mom or Aaron. Our paternal grandma ended up coming to the graduation with us. It was a great day, like a really great day. We didn't think about the wedding, didn't think about Aaron, we just had fun together. My son got to wear his aunt's cap and gown and nearly drowned in the fabric. Our grandma tried on the cap too. We took photos and sent them to our dad, who posted them in a Facebook post he wrote to congratulate both Erin on her wedding and Nadia on her graduation, and we laughed about how it must have upset our newly wedded sister. We went out for dinner, and we as siblings gifted Nadia money for a week away with her best friend, which somebody suggested in the comments. I texted George my congratulations. Despite everything, I do hope he and Erin are happy together. While she might not love us, I don't doubt that Erin loves him. Yes, she wants her spotlight and her moment, but I don't think she's marrying him just for that. Bringing the wedding forward? Sure, that's a hugely malicious tactic to bring herself more attention. Marrying him for the sake of having a wedding? She isn't that type of narcissist. As of right now, I plan on staying no contact with my mom unless she makes some big changes. This is a sentiment shared not only by the majority of my siblings, but also encouraged by our dad and grandma. She's tried reaching out to me and my partner, mostly going off on us for not attending the wedding and accusing us of planning to keep her grandbaby away from her. At the moment, our summer looks busy. We're planning on filling it with as many family outings as possible before Nadia leaves for college. We've also got Josh's 29th birthday to plan. Our dad is even joining in. This might cause a bigger rift between him and mom, but for now at least, it looks like we're his priority. Lydia's threat really did something to him. I hooked up with someone else during a break, and now my wife is changed. My wife and I, both 40, have been together for 15 years. The past 3 years were turbulent, and we fought all the time until about a year ago when we decided we needed time apart or to separate. We chose the first option. The first period, we went no contact at all, but then we started texting, then meeting for lunch, etc., and dates. We talked about the problems. I felt miserable without her, and I hoped she did too because I missed her every day. The problems that we always fought about, the mundane stuff, was so trivial now, and we talked about how our issues were really non-issues. She said she loved and missed me so much, and I felt so much relief that she felt the same way, so I confessed that I was miserable without her, and how our problems were nothing compared to not being with her. We made a plan to reconcile, and a month ago she moved back home. Before we separated, we discussed what we are allowed to do during our separation. She said that she didn't want to hook up with anyone else, but that I was free to do so because we will be legit separated and she doesn't have a right to decide over me while we aren't a couple. I hooked up twice with a colleague of mine. It wasn't good and I regretted it, so I ended it. It basically wasn't worth it. When my wife moved back, she asked me if I did something. She didn't. I told her the truth and she was silent for a while and then said that it was fair enough and not cheating because we already discussed the possibility. Since we've talked about it, she's been distant. She says that she is happy and that she missed home, and I too missed her, and I haven't been this happy, but I don't know. When I ask her, she says she's fine and not to worry, but I don't know. I have caught her crying a few times, but she says it's the news and the world's condition. Now it seems like she doesn't even want to hook up with me anymore. I don't know how to solve this. I don't know if I'm imagining things, but even a hug or a kiss, I feel her going rigid in my arms. But she insists it's nothing and that she's just not in the mood or tired. What if your wife had hooked up with other people? OP. The thing is, that's why I discussed this subject with her before we separated. I was terrified that she would hook up with other people because I know my wife to be the kind that wants an emotional connection before getting physically attracted. I had nightmares about it, so I needed to ask to see what we were supposed to do during the separation. I don't need any emotional connection to hook up. I regret it, but I told myself that we had agreed to this. I feel that I have cheated seeing her reaction now, no matter if we had agreed on this or not. So the hookup wasn't good with a coworker, and that's why you decided to end it? I didn't mean the hookup wasn't good. The whole thing wasn't good because it wasn't what I wanted. Update. My wife is not fine with what happened. She started crying immediately when I tried talking to her. She said that she didn't know if she will ever forget or forgive. What surprised me is that she seemed to put the blame on herself. She said it was all her fault because she started this whole separation idea and then agreed to me hooking up with others like she tricked me somehow, and now she wasn't fine with what she had agreed upon. She apologized and said that she knew she was being unfair, but that she couldn't help how she felt now. I tried to explain that it wasn't her fault at all, but I'm not sure she's convinced because she keeps saying that it was her fault and that she's being unfair. I don't know what to do. I can't see her broken like this. Update. She said she couldn't do this anymore, and she apologized because she believes that it was all her doing because she felt like she tricked me and gave me permission. She's the love of my life, and I regret everything, including the break and the small stupid stuff that made us fight and take that break. She moved into a hotel. We decided to wait about telling our families until after the holidays because our broken hearts are enough. We don't need to break their hearts too. I just don't know what to do. I've lost everything. This is my update for those of you who asked. I'm sure you will find it satisfactory given the amount of hate that you've given me on my original post. Crazy concept, I know, but if you're still married to someone, how about just not hooking up with someone else? That would make far too much sense, Karen. Don't forget, we're on Reddit. My soon-to-be ex-husband humiliated me on our wedding day and met his karma instantly. It's been 2 days since my wedding day. I had already been with him for 4 years, 1 year of which I was engaged. It all started a few months earlier when I noticed my husband Jake watching prank videos. Among other things, these videos showed embarrassing photos of the bride being played on a projector in front of the whole room or the bride's face having cake in it. I told him straight away that I didn't want anything like that in our wedding. He just laughed and said that he wasn't planning anything like that. I thought that was the end of it, but I kept catching him making a strange arrangement with his friends. He suddenly wanted to choose the wedding photographer and the cake. I thought nothing of it and was just glad he was helping me with the wedding prep. Nevertheless, I reminded him the day before that if he did something like that, I would break up with him immediately. When the day of the wedding came, everything went smoothly until the ceremony. Until the moment came when the cake was to be cut. The whole room watched as I made the first cut and the photographer stood in front of both of us with his camera. Suddenly, I felt a hand on the back of my head pushing me face first into the cake. Not only my makeup, but the whole wedding dress was ruined and the whole room laughed. My husband was laughing the loudest. At that moment, the photographer took the photo and Jake said that this was now our wedding photo. I turned around, I slapped him, and ran out of the room in tears. Thank God karma didn't take too long to arrive and came in the form of his own brother. I ran to the bathroom and started crying when I suddenly heard loud shouting from the hall. It was his brother, Frank. I could barely understand what he was saying, and when I left the bathroom, he was waiting for me. He told me that Jake had something to tell me. Jake was shaking and apologized without looking me in the eye. Frank told him to look me in the eye and apologize again. Even I was a bit scared of Frank at that moment, because I had always thought of him as kind and a gentle man. I had never seen him angry before. Jake apologized again, and then Frank led us back into the hall, which was suddenly very quiet, and most of our families looked down at the floor, a little embarrassed. The festivities were cut short, and I was taken home by Frank because I was too angry with my husband and I didn't want to see him. During the ride, Frank apologized for blowing up like that. He explained that my husband was horrible even back when he was a brother and used every special occasion to humiliate Frank. When it was Frank's birthday, my husband would throw cake at him and break his presents. But back then, their parents always brushed it off by saying that's just how brothers behave. So he had to endure every humiliation. But when he saw my husband do this to me, he was fed up because he realized that my husband was just a bad person who got his satisfaction from humiliating others. I asked Frank if he thought it would be an exaggeration if I separated from my husband, and he said no, because according to him, I deserved better, and he didn't care how his brother felt about it because he had brought it on himself. Then he told me that if I needed help collecting my things, he would help me and gave me his number. And I decided to separate from him and file for divorce and inform Jake and my family about it. Jake just told me not to do that because it was just a harmless prank. I was spammed by both his family and mine that it would be ridiculous to end our marriage over this, but I see it differently. If he does something like this to me despite multiple requests not to do it, even after promising he wouldn't do it, then I can't trust him, no matter what he promises me. I have to assume that the opposite can and will happen, and that he doesn't care at all how I feel about his decisions. This situation can be projected onto so many much worse situations where it would be important for me to be able to trust him. His brother Frank seems to be the only one who supports me now, and I will go through with the divorce. Call me humorless, call me what you want, but I have given my reasons. OP, I'm sorry this happened, but I'm so proud of you. You warned him multiple times, and he felt it was more important to get laughs than to be a trustworthy partner. I don't know why people think humiliation is a prank. If you have to explain that it was a joke, it's not funny. Best of luck. P.S. Please let Frank know he's a good man, and we appreciate him having your back. How do I, 40 male, tell my kids who are 12, 15, and 17 that my infidelity is the reason for the divorce? I'm here for genuine advice, looking especially for advice from people who have been in the same situation. I know I messed up. I don't need anyone to tell me again. 2 years ago, my ex-wife, who's 40, found out I had been cheating with my current girlfriend, who's 29, and immediately divorced me. We had a very civil split and both agreed not to tell our girls what led to it. A year ago, my girlfriend and I started renting walking distance from my ex-wife. This has muddled our 50-50 custody agreement, as my girls sometimes come over while on their mom's week and sometimes go to their mom's on my week. They basically come and go as they please from both homes, but generally sleep at the custodial parents' house. My girlfriend has recently taken issue with this. She doesn't like that they come over without asking and that we get no kid-free time. She's asked me to enforce a boundary with my girls that they cannot come over on their mom's weeks unless we explicitly invite them. I told her absolutely not. I pay 100% of our living expenses, and I'm not going to make my girls feel unwelcome in a house that I pay for. She then made the comment that maybe they wouldn't want to come over anymore if they knew what I had done and with who. I've decided it's time for them to know the truth. I can't have this threat hanging over me. How can I do this? What do I say? Do I involve a third party? Should their mom be there? I just don't know how to admit I blew up all of our lives for nothing. Has anyone gone through this with their father and came out with an intact relationship? Edit. Just breaking up with my girlfriend is not a solution to this. I'm afraid she will tell them out of spite whether we are together or not. She sounds like she doesn't understand you had a family before you hooked up with her and what being a parent entails. She sounds selfish. Her threatening to tell your girls that is awful and malicious. The pain she would cause them is unnecessary. My ex-husband cheated on me a lot, and to this day, my adult kids do not know about it. They don't need to know that. Their dad may have hurt me and broke up our family, but I already processed the pain from the cheating. They don't need to go through it themselves. You have to ask yourself if you really like someone that would be willing to do this so she can have it her way. Planning date nights and keeping those plans would have been an easy thing to ask for. When you have kids, privacy is really not super existent. You can still prioritize time with her without creating a storm with your kids. She doesn't sound mature enough to properly have a conversation about making some time for you guys to have dates and spend time together without asking you to enforce the kids staying with their mom on her time. Not to mention, you both hooked up when you were married originally. Not only did you step out, she was okay being the side chick. That says something about her character. Life isn't a competition to see if you will pick her first. First it was your wife she was competing with. Now she has an issue with your kids. OP. The problem is that during the first 6 months of our affair, before my ex found out, I was a bad father. I would go on business trips all the time and was basically an absent father. I think she expected I would be a weekend dad rather than want 50-50 custody, and it was a shock to her to spend much less time with me than before our affair was discovered. I will be breaking up with her for a multitude of reasons, but her understanding of our family dynamics, me never being around, has contributed to this, as her expectations were based on a version of a father I didn't want to continue being. Even when you tell your girls, you should still break up with your girlfriend. She sounds like a monster, and threats prove that she's a bad person. Why isn't she contributing to bills? OP. I will be breaking up with her regardless. She's not contributing to bills because it's always been that way. I'm not stupid. A hot 26-year-old doesn't hook up with a balding old guy near 40s for his personality. This has always been a transactional relationship, but I stayed because I felt like at least I lost my family for something. And people have said, well, at least they're still together, they were meant to be, etc., which made it seem less bad somehow. I'm aware this is stupid. Probably need to know why you cheated before we can come up with a solid answer. OP. I don't think it matters. But we had been together since we were 13, and our relationship was generally great, even almost 25 years later. In therapy the past year, I realized that my problem was she has always been better than me at everything growing up and into adulthood. Better at sports, got better grades, got into a better school, better scholarship, everything. At the time, she was also frustrated with me because I refused to leave my workplace for a job that paid significantly more. She never made me feel inferior, but I myself felt that I wasn't enough for her. My fault, not hers. When I met my girlfriend, I felt superior to her because I had more money and was more educated and intelligent and had more materialistic things, and it was an intoxicating feeling. Even though I knew she was attracted to my money, in my value system, I was still superior and had the upper hand, so to speak. I felt like a big man. It's pathetic, and I'm trying to unlearn the way I think about people's worth. Secondary to that, she's not more attractive than my ex-wife physically, but I had only been with 2 people. And the second was a one-time hookup when we broke up briefly at 21. She was very interested in me and persistent and decently attractive, and that coupled with my ego led to an affair. It's not an excuse, it's something that could have been prevented by communication and therapy, but I was a different person a few years ago. Update. I took everyone's advice and involved my ex-wife in the situation. Safe to say, she was upset at my poor choice in partners and having to deal with this BS. But we got together with the girls at ex-wife's house and told them. Many of you suspected they already knew. Incorrect. Apparently, they thought we broke up because of my job and my refusal to accept a new one. We did not lie to them during the divorce and tell them an untrue reason. We just told them that relationship issues are private and we would be willing to have a discussion when they were all adults. So thankfully, there's no trust lost in my ex-wife, which some of you were concerned about. All my girls were incredibly upset. They were being cordial with my girlfriend because their mom encouraged them to be civil, but apparently they hated her. They couldn't believe I would give up my wife for her, our family, and their stability, which is fair. They're refusing to see me for now. My ex and I are going to get them into therapy, and I'm hopeful that over time we can rebuild a relationship. My oldest is furious and has sent me some scathing messages and then blocked me, so I'm really concerned about her and I. I missed some of her huge life events due to my affair, and I think that will be hard for her to forgive. As for the girlfriend, she's gone, plain and simple. She has her next partner lined up and is moving to be with him. I can't say I'm hurt about that, which shows how little I cared for her. I just feel relieved. A bunch of you suggested getting back with my ex-wife. Unfortunately, that topic has been breached when the affair was discovered, and she's 100% uninterested. She takes her job as a mom very seriously, and in her mind, the girls would eventually know, and it would be setting a bad example for them to take back a cheater. Even independently of that, cheating has always been a deal breaker for her. I feel bad as she was planning on moving her partner in, and now she feels like she has to delay it until the girls are in a better place. She was really angry with me, especially for that reason. In her anger, she's also let it slip that her and her partner are planning on marrying in the next few years and having another baby. She's never shared anything personal with me, past allowing me to meet her partner before the girls did, so that was a shock to me. I'm trying to process that information. That hurts more than my girlfriend cheating and leaving, which tells me I have a lot more work to do in getting over her. It's been a sobering experience for me. Thank you to everyone who legitimately gave me advice. It was helpful. If I could in turn offer some advice, don't cheat on your partner. The grass is greener where you water it, and if I had taken the time, effort, and energy I gave my affair partner and invested it in myself and my wife, I would be incredibly happy right now. And as for a side note, to all the men messaging, commenting, congratulating me for getting a younger woman, that doesn't matter. I've never looked at my ex-wife and thought she was old or unattractive. She was better than my ex-girlfriend. This had nothing to do with getting a younger woman. It had to do with a self-destructive ego that has led to the most important people in my life hating me. Everything else was irrelevant. Don't get caught up in it. My wife demands I buy her boyfriend a plane ticket. My 40 male wife, who's 34 female, and I have been separated for almost 2 years. It's long to explain all the details, but during lockdown, she realized she wasn't happy about her life as a housewife and she wanted to do more stuff before becoming too old. I met her when she was in college, and we've been together for a long time. We are not getting a divorce, and she says everything is going to come back to normal eventually once she feels that she's ready to move on from this new stage of her life. She now lives traveling across Europe, doing different ways of charity work and environmental activism. She has had many small jobs during her travels, mainly as a waitress, but I also still help her a lot. Our marriage is now open in many ways. I haven't been with any other women yet, but I may do it if I find the right one. At first, she was just with random men, but she eventually started having more stable relationships. She's been with her current Greek boyfriend for 6 months. The issue is that she was meant to come home for a few days so she could be at our daughter's 13th birthday. I had already bought her a plane ticket, but then she decided she wanted her boyfriend to come too. I have no problem with him coming, but I didn't think I should be the one paying for his ticket, especially so late because it would be more expensive. As soon as I complained, she just said that she's not coming anymore because she doesn't think that I could be mature enough to handle the situation, and she prefers for me to send our daughter to visit her for a few weeks during summer. I tried to negotiate with her, but she was fully set in her new idea and didn't care about anything I had to say. Now my daughter's angry at me because she really was looking forward to seeing her mom, and because of me, she will have to wait for months. I don't think it's fair to blame me, and I feel that it's cruel that my daughter is now being so cold with me. I also miss my wife, and I'm sad she's not coming. But my daughter thinks this is something I did on purpose because I'm jealous of her new boyfriend. I don't think that that's true, but I do feel guilty because my complaints were the thing that started this whole conflict, and now I've damaged my daughter's enjoyment of her birthday. Am I the jerk? First, get a lawyer, then a therapist. Your marriage is over, and your wife is a manipulator. Stop waiting for her, and don't let your daughter put this on you. This is all on your wife. How dare she expect you to pay for her boyfriend's plane ticket? I wanted to throw up when I read this. Also, your wife is manipulating your daughter. Tell your daughter if her mom wanted to be there for her birthday, she would come along. That you will not be disrespected in your own home or pay for her boyfriend's plane ticket. It may be harsh, but your wife is damaging your relationship with your daughter. If she cared about your daughter, she wouldn't have left. Not the jerk. Tell your daughter that her mom has a ticket, and if she chooses not to use it to see her daughter on her birthday, then you can't make her use it. Tell your daughter you're sorry if this is what happens. Dude, your marriage is over. You and your daughter have been abandoned. I'm so sorry. Get a lawyer. Get a therapist. Not the jerk, except to yourself. Not the jerk. Your wife is being immature, and she's picking someone she's known for 6 months over her 13-year-old daughter. If he really had to be there, she can buy his ticket. Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or his ex? Please let us know. Maybe I need to discover who I really am. Maybe I should find a new boyfriend. What you think about that, Reddit boy? If it gets me a break from you, I'm all for it. What? Cancel the service? You bet. I work in roadside assistance as a third party for a lot of insurance companies. Like most customer service jobs, we get a lot of mistreatment. But most of it comes from long wait times and/or not being fully covered. This happens often, but I very rarely am in the position where I get to see the fallout. Recently, I had a woman call in. She was completely pleasant, but in a huge rush, so she was a little snippy. No worries, I get it. But then it comes to letting her know that she is not covered for assistance and she has a huge out-of-pocket expense. She whines about the fact that she knows she has roadside assistance. Then that she supposedly set the service up earlier, so not only am I trying to charge her, but it's taking too long, and therefore the price should be waived. Finally, she gives up and tells me I'm useless and says, "Just cancel it," and hangs up. Being the good rep that I am, I call her back to confirm the disconnect was intentional. She picks up, then hangs up immediately, then sends me to voicemail on follow-up calls. So, as instructed, I canceled the job request. I should note, intake doesn't take long, but it's annoying to go over, and if the customer doesn't know their exact location, like being on a freeway, it can take some time. A few hours later, I get a new call from an angry customer wondering where her service is at. I apologize for the frustration, ask for her reference number, and inform her that unfortunately, there isn't any service in the system. She starts going off. I do my best to calm her down and extract the needed information. Halfway through the call, I realize it's the same angry woman as before. When we start going over location, I remember the drop-off location, and she gets excited and says, "Oh, you found my service? Is the driver on his way? It's ridiculous that it's taking this long. You should get this prioritized or expedited." To which I reply in my nicest customer service voice, "No, ma'am, your service isn't in the system. I remember when we spoke earlier. As you requested, I canceled the job at that time, so it's only getting open now and the amount will be this much." Her, "That's more than it was earlier." Me, "Yes, the pricing changes throughout the day to continuously match the market, stay competitive, and incentivize drivers to continue taking jobs at unpopular times." She doesn't say anything. Me, "Also, we have a longer ETA at this time, so you will want to get this payment taken care of ASAP so we can find a service provider to avoid a longer wait. I can send a text message to you to complete the payment." She stutters. But I never told you to cancel it before." Me, starting to lose patience. "Ma'am, our calls are recorded. I notate obsessively, and I called you back multiple times trying to confirm." "I want to speak to your supervisor." Ranting, trying to make me scared. Me, "No problem, one moment. It looks like there's currently a 20-minute wait for a supervisor. I'm happy to wait with you." Her, "Fine then, get my service started." Me, Certainly, I'll send the text for payment. She finally broke down and paid it and gave up waiting for a supervisor. She lost it up and down that she was going to report me. Either way, I felt vindicated with my tiny bit of malicious compliance. Do this next. Tap here on your screen to come see our new podcast playlist, where you'll find thousands of hours of the best stories you've ever heard. Or tap the one on the right. That episode is specifically just for you, based on other videos you've enjoyed the most.